What's up, everyone? Carmen Dinisco here, UIA TV. We're doing some more shows. Got Chris Guerrera, the king of manufacturing, on. Let's bring him up. Chris, what's up?
Hey, Carmine, how are you? We're going to talk today a little bit more on licensing, baby. We're going to keep our series rolling with David and Amy Jo. But let's talk a little bit about the hardware show, man. How good was that?
Man, it was awesome. You know what? I'm still getting calls not only on the hardware show itself from some of the presenters, the people that had booths, but we're getting a lot of calls just from the presentations, the education, the pitch panels. They want to know what's next, man.
Yeah, and next year is going to be even bigger, right? It's going to be triple the size. I've also met some great people, some new contacts. So overall, it was an absolute success. It was one of the best ones I think we put on in a long time with some really top-notch people.
Yeah, no doubt. And I have to, give hats off to you. You did most of it. Of course, while we were there, I was telling everybody I did all the work. But now on the show here, I'll let everyone know that you did it all. But the people that run the hardware show have sent us a couple of emails. They want to continue the momentum that you built up even before. Now they want to keep doing some shows. They want to keep advertising because they want to build up for the next hardware show, and it's good. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think so too. It really was good. And again, just a full level of great new contacts. So let's get into our series, our licensing series, right? We'll bring David and Amy Jo on now. But, last couple of times we talked, I'm going to keep these series short, 10 minutes. So you get a lot of information in a really small, compact time frame. We talked about how do you get started with licensing, right? Then how do you go about making calls? Well, after you do that, there's another big step. It's not just I made a call and forget about it. It's constantly calling, right? It's that sales persistence. You got to keep calling, keep following up. So I'm going to turn it over to David and Amy Jo and let them talk it through. They're the experts in this field and they have the most experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Chris. And I mean, it's so like every inventor, we're super excited when we jump into our product. And we start like building prototypes and creating patents and marketing material and videos. And then, what I see from a lot of my students is when they get all that stuff built, then it's like, it's this feeling that inventors have that they're like, if you build it, they will come. Right. And they're like, I built this amazing invention and it's game changing. So people will show up at my door, but it's not the case. And so inventors, I'm like, all right, go call. And they'll come back and they're like, all right, I called, nobody answered. I'm like, no, keep calling, like call them, email them, follow up. Because, and I want to turn this over to Amy Jo also, but like companies that we are pitching to as inventors, like they are set up not to let us in because they look at us as we're selling them, life insurance, right? They're set up to not let people get to their people because they want their people to be productive. And so they have these walls and these barriers up. And that's, I wouldn't want to say necessarily for us, but they're for other people. But once we get in and once we do present our value, then companies are very responsive to us. But like inventors don't realize the magnitude and the force that it takes on calling, emailing, and following up. I mean, sometimes, and Amy Jo, you can speak to this a lot, is it takes 10 calls, multiple emails, to really get the ball rolling. And so when you get to that phase, it's like know that this is when the real work starts. And this is the part that I feel separates the pack of unsuccessful versus successful inventors.
David, Amy, before you jump in, right? You talk about launching, it's the same thing, right? You do all this design work, you get tooling made, you get packaging done. It's all ready for retail. How am I going to sell this now? I got to go find a buyer. That's what it just starts. Even when you find a buyer, or even if you're selling e-commerce, you got to market it, right? So it never ends, and it's the same for every product. But go ahead, Amy Jo. I'm sure you know the persistence that's required.
It's a lot, it's for sure. But that's the fun part, because that's when you're actually getting in the game and you're actually a player in the game. So whether it is how you described it, Chris, or licensing, if you're venturing licensing, whatever it is, no one's going to buy it if they don't know it exists. You have to get it in front of people. I say it over and over again. And whoever has heard me speak several times is probably annoyed by hearing it, but it's true because like, okay, so if you're making phone calls, like David said, a lot of these companies are structured to not allow us in. Now, there are some who are open to the idea. They welcome us. And then there are others who are naive to the process and they're kind of afraid with the term licensing because they don't know what it is. They've never experienced it before. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have to explain it to them. So there are different levels and different experiences and when it comes to submitting to companies. So first round, you may not even be able to get an email or a contact or anything like that because they don't know. And sometimes you do. So the follow-up process is going to be a little bit different. If you have not submitted your product to the company, I'll call them every day or every other day until they give me a process to submit. Then once I've submitted, I usually follow up with them about every 5 to 7 days, sometimes 7 to 10 days, just kind of like, span it out to give them time to review the process. But yeah, I mean, like we always say, and we may have mentioned on our last call, like we don't want to be like polite pests, but if they're not telling us how to submit, that every day or every other day, I kind of like that third time that I follow up with them, kind of make them feel like they're not doing their job. If they don't have an answer for me, then they're not doing their job because we're talking to customer service. We're not talking to the decision maker, customer service that points us to the decision maker. So there are a few different angles there with that.
So it's a lot of selling, right? I mean, which is, like you said, is the fun part. Now you get to talk about your product. How about I know a lot of inventors like to talk about themselves, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm guessing you want to steer away from that, right? You want to focus on solving the problem with your product.
Yeah. Right? And like, so when you talk, I mean, and look at like a continuum, right? You have early on inventors and then you have professionals, right? And so like early on, right away, being in the business as long as I have, you can detect or understand when it's an early on inventor because they start out telling you about themselves, about the history, about how they develop the product. And it's like, no. And like when I get on the phone to talk to a potential licensee to pitch my product, sometimes I don't even tell them my name. I'm just like, hi, I'm a product developer. I'm calling to see if you look at new products. Yes, you do. Great. What's an email I can send it to? And like, so they're not interested in me as an inventor until they're interested in the product. Because once they're interested in the product, then they come back to say, who's this person I'm going to be working with over the next, and here's the crazy part. When you sign a licensing agreement, you have a decade-long relationship with them. So once they're interested in you as a person to want to know that they're the right kind of person that they want to work with. And so at the beginning, it's not about you. It's not about the history. It's not even anything about that. It's about, can you deliver a good product that they want to license and they can make money off of with their customers?
And, David, to that point, right, you have a limited time as it is, right? Someone's on the phone, you're trying to sell them quickly. The last thing you want to do is take that 2 minutes of time you have with them and talk about your cat and how your cat led you to this problem. You want to talk about the product, like you said, right? You really want to be selling them on your product and getting it in front of them so they can say, oh, wow, that is pretty cool. Then maybe have follow-ups and then down the road, learn more about you and how you developed it and all that.
Hey, cat conversations, throw them out the window.
Hey, David, I want to jump in real quick on this. Both you and Amy Jo obviously are professionals in this stuff and just the verbiage that you're using. But what is interesting to me is some of the things you just talked about, and I hope our listeners are catching it because it's a strategy. You don't just make a call without being prepared. I love what you said I'm a product developer, which I think if people are listening to that, it sounds much better than I'm a wacky inventor and I have this product. And these are the little things that person that you're talking to on the other phone will pick up on, right? And that's what makes what you guys do so important with training and education and what to say, right? Is every word they speak is so important, right?
Yep. There's subtleties to the language they use. And it's almost like industry jargon. Because if you don't know the industry jargon, you're not in the industry. And so it's picking up on those subtleties, those different language and triggers that you're trying to use when you're approaching a potential licensee, because that's the difference between them saying, yes, I'd like to see your product, and no thanks, because in their mind, they're like, this inventor is going to waste my time because they're an inventor, not a product developer.
And it's funny. The other thing I hear a lot of, well, I don't have time to launch the product, so it's so much easier to license it. And I always say it's not really easier. It's less capital. You're less involved to some degree, but up front, it's the same amount of legwork. You got to make the calls. You got to put the time in, or you got to hand it off to somebody that's good at it and have them do it for you. Because let's face it, not everyone's a good talker. Not everyone can get in front of a decision maker, an executive, or a buyer and really sell them. You may even hurt yourself if you're not good at it.
Most likely. Most likely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. And I've worked with inventors where like I get on a coaching call with them and like, that's the case, right? They're going to be super uncomfortable on the phone. They're not going to be able to build that confidence. And so, yeah, like finding a dynamic partner that has those skill sets that get you in and has those conversations in the right way can make all the difference in the success in your product.
Well, and that's the thing too, like to your guys' point, licensing is not about like building a business. And a lot of people say like, okay, well, you don't have to wear as many hats because you don't need to know or be responsible for manufacturing and packaging and all of that. But you still need to be from teaching some of my students, like a lot of them, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. And so most of them are creative people. They're not really like by the book, people. They don't like doing the research. They don't like doing the PPA, that type of thing. So in one way or another, you still have to wear hats that you don't really want to wear, but you don't have to wear them permanently. Like you can get the task done or find somebody to help you and then, get yourself in the game and continue on your creative path.
Okay, great. So we're going to close this out. So sell, sell, sell. And then when you think you're done selling, sell some more.
And don't talk.
Time efficiently.
Yeah.
Don't waste it. You got a guy on the phone that wants to listen to you. Don't waste his time or her time. Sell it. Okay. Yeah. We're going to close this one out. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
You guys, great advice. Love it. And not only sell, but don't talk. You have to be strategic. You guys are experts in this stuff. And we as inventors want to always tell about our ideas. But you could be an inventor. I don't want to give everybody the wrong idea. You could be an inventor at a holiday party, at a barbecue. You tell everybody you're an inventor. But when you're talking to the potential decision maker, right? I love what you guys said. I'm a product developer. I'm a professional at this. This is what I do. Awesome stuff, guys. Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. We are going to close the show up. I appreciate all you listeners out there. If you have some questions, make sure you get in touch with us. This is serious stuff. We have really good shows coming up. Tune in for our next licensing in this potential series. We're going to go on as far as we have to, right, Chris?
Absolutely. As long as we need to, but I think this is a great one to start with.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. We will catch you next time on UAI TV. Bye.
Thank you.